Hello, Steve Stine from lessonface.com here. This month what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding yet another visual level to our playing by looking at what we refer to as the CAGED chording system. This is really, really important to learn how to play for a number of different reasons. But up to this point, what we've been doing is we've been learning scalular ideas, right? So like last month, we looked at the C major scale and that sort of thing. What we want to do this month is we want to start looking at chordal shapes that move you up and down the fretboard. When I first started learning how to play, I knew the same chords that everybody else did. You know, I knew A and D and G, and then I knew some bar chord stuff, a little bit of bar chord stuff, some power chord stuff. But I often wondered how the players that I listened to made such great melody all over the fretboard. And I remember just being absolutely floored when I learned how to play this CAGED chording system. Now, there's a lot of philosophies on the CAGED. I want to show you a fairly simplistic and easily applicable idea with the CAGED system, so you can already, immediately start elevating your melodic playing, which is one of the big things that people are missing when they play. They just kind of run through scales. So let me explain to you what the CAGED is. Basically what you're doing is you're taking the chords C, A, G, E, and D in that order, and you're applying them to your guitar. So what happens is ultimately you're able to see a major chord anywhere on the entire fretboard. So instead of having a C down here and maybe a fifth string C and then a C up here, you literally have C everywhere, or A everywhere, or G everywhere, or E, or whatever it might be. And let's just talk historically about how this works. If we think about when we first start learning how to play guitar, at least most people, you're down in the open position, you learn how to play A, and you learn how to play C, and D, and E, and G, and of course those are the chords that we're using. Now, we do have an F chord down there, but if you think about it, this F chord that we're making, this kind of beginner's F chord here, this F was never an open chord. This F was actually the kind of the little version of this F, which is the bar chord, which is actually just an E moved up. So this F really didn't exist anyway. It was a part of a bigger picture, where C really is C, and G really is G, as far as open chords go. So here's how this works. I'm going to show you how to apply the CAGED system in the key of C so it functions with last month's topic of playing the C major scale. So here's what you would do. Here's how I do it anyway. I would start off with a C chord. Whatever, it doesn't matter what key I'm in, I want to find the lowest chord that I can possibly find on my fretboard, and then I'm going to start building from there. So in this case, I'm going to play C in its C position right here. Now, if I think about it, if I think about the word CAGED, if I just played the C shape, which I did, the next available shape is A. Well, if you look at where my third finger is, what I'm going to do is right from that third finger, I'm going to bar and add on the A shape. And now I've got another C chord, but using the A shape. Now, if you know your fifth string bar chords, that's all I'm doing, right? So if you already know your fifth string bar chords, whenever you play a fifth string major chord, the C shape is on the other side of you over there. Okay? Now, I'm on A, so now where this finger is, this little bar here, I'm going to put my first finger there, and now I'm going to make a G chord with the other three fingers. Okay? Now notice again, if you look at my ring finger is on the note C on the sixth string. So there's a C chord. Now, the idea is that you're visualizing and you're understanding the idea of how they're connecting together. The actual physical playing of it might take a little while because they're kind of awkward, and you'll understand why we always use sixth string and fifth string bar chords typically when we're playing songs. But I'm going to show you how to expand these ideas and use them in your actual playing, not just as chord shapes. Because again, if you think about it, if you can play a C chord here and a C chord here and a C chord here, do you really need to strum C in 17 other places? Maybe, maybe not. But we've got a bigger idea that's going to be happening with this, and not just it gives us more opportunities to play the same chord over and over and over. You just have to be patient for that. So we have C in the C shape, C using the A shape, C using the G shape, and now where these two fingers are, I'm going to bar over the 8th fret right there where those two fingers were, and now I make the E shape. Now this should look familiar to you because this is the 6th string bar chord right here. Okay, and then where these two fingers are, and mainly the pinky is what I'm looking for, I'm going to bar over that from the pinky down, and I'm going to make a D chord. D chord shape, I should say, and now I'm on C again. And then where that leaves off right here, here I'm on my D shape, where these two fingers in this one are right here, is the beginnings of my C chord all over again, one octave higher. So that's how you cover your entire fretboard with those 5 chordal shapes, but yet make the same pitches, make the same chord quality over and over and over across the fretboard. Now, if you've never done this before, it takes a little while to get comfortable with it, so it's not a matter of can you learn how to do CAGED with every chord on the planet right away. What we're going to do is we're going to ease into this. Next month, we're going to start learning how to practically use this, but for this month, what I want you to do is just simply start exploring this. So my recommendation to you would be don't try and do 7 different chords. Start with one chord and learn how to see it across your entire fretboard. Just, just like you're doing with your notes and your scales and everything else, learn it to an absolute level. Don't be in a hurry. So you learn how to play C. And you learn it across the whole thing. You learn how to play that C chord. Okay? And then, of course, it would start all over in the octaves as we keep going up. Okay, so once you've established that, and you can look down at your fretboard and you can see this C chord. And this C shape, or C chord A shape, excuse me. And this C chord G shape. And this C chord E shape. And then the C chord D shape. Okay? Now, what I did was I started thinking, okay, well, maybe C is actually an easier key because I'm starting with a chord that I already know, and I'd get myself all confused about things. What I want you to think about is this. If you already know your 6th string and your 5th string bar chords, the battle's halfway over, okay? Because whenever you're on a 6th string bar chord, now again, we're in the key of C right now, but I could be in any key. Whenever I'm on a 6th string major bar chord, we're not dealing with minor chords yet, okay? Whenever I'm on a 6th string major bar chord, as I make that major bar chord, above me is the D shape, and below me is the G shape. And it's just going to be that way all the time. So even if I was in the key of A, I was playing an A chord right here. I shouldn't say the key of A, but I was on the chord A. The D shape is always going to be above me, and the G shape is always going to be below me. Always. Always. So you see, yes, you can memorize C, A, G, E, and D, and you should, but you can also use practicality of things that you already know. If you already know how to play a major bar chord, you simply remember that the G shape is going to be below you and the D shape is going to be above you. Now let me reapply that to the key of C to make more sense here. So I'm in C, got a C major chord right here. The D shape is above me, still making a C sound. The G shape is below me, so I'm still making the C sound. Now what's cool about that is, again, I'm on the 6th string bar chord making a C chord at the 8th fret. Below me is the G shape. Now, let's look at the 5th string bar chord if you know those. This is the great part. 5th string bar chord, 3rd fret right here. Above that, every single time, above that is the G shape, and below it is the C shape, and you're done. That's all you'd have to do. So what's cool is between your 5th string bar chord and your 6th string bar chord, you have sandwiched in between the G shape. So let's say, like a lot of people with their pentatonic scales, they don't learn them in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the pentatonic shapes. They'll sometimes, because they know 1 so well, they might learn 2 and they might learn 5 below it. That way, they'll deal with the other ones later. Well, think about it. If you already knew your 6th string major bar chord and your 5th string major bar chord, you're just going to sandwich in between those. You're going to add that G shape in between. And maybe you just start with that for a week and you just get comfortable with trying to get that worked up so you can see that shape in between. Then you add something else, right? So if I'm on the C chord, I know I can add the D shape above me. On the E shape, excuse me, I'm on the E shape. The D shape is above me. Well, guess what's above that? The starting point, C, all over again. Okay, which goes to the A shape, which goes to the D shape. Excuse me, it goes to the G shape, I'm sorry. Kind of hard to play up here on my acoustic. So if that makes sense, not trying to confuse you, but let's try a different key. Let's say, or a different chord. Let's say I was playing the G chord. Okay, so the first thing I could do is I could decide, okay, what's the lowest shape that I've got, and then map everything out. Or maybe I take my shortcut and I just think, okay, well, here's a G major bar chord. right here on the 6th string. So below me is the G shape, and above me is the D shape. Well, below me is the G shape, which is great because that's the G chord that I know anyway, right? And above me is the D shape. Okay, then above that is the C shape. Okay, so this would have been the beginning of the C chord down there. I'm playing it right here. Okay, now if that's confusing to you, you could have used the shortcut. Okay, so I have G, below it is the G shape. Excuse me, let me rephrase that. Sometimes it gets confusing. I'm playing a G bar chord right now, 6-string bar chord, which is actually an E shape, right? So below that is the actual G shape, and above it is the D shape. They're all creating the G sound. My other shortcut is I find the G 5th string bar chord. Below it is the C shape, and above it is the G shape. And I start all over again, you see? So as long as I can find the 6th string and the 5th string major bar chords, I can find all the other shapes that attach to it. The goal for us, though, isn't necessarily to find them, because again, in the real world, if I can play this G shape, why on earth would I play this G shape, right? I mean, again, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen and people don't do it and I don't do it and you might not do it as well. But that's not the point of learning the CAGED, is just so you can play the same chord in a different shape somewhere else on the fretboard. There's a bigger picture that we're going to get to next month using those. The point at this stage is that you can see that chord shape, or excuse me, that chord across the entire fretboard with those 5 shapes. And the shortcut that you can use is the knowledge that you already have, which is the 6th string bar chord and the 5th string bar chord. Okay? So again, we're going to map those out for you. You're going to have them on the Guitar World page here. So you can memorize those. And if you have any questions, obviously you can get a hold of me through lessonface.com. I'd be more than happy to help you with anything with this. But remember, take it slow. Keep practicing and absorb the information. Don't just look at it and go, oh, I understand the concept. You can't solo with a concept. You have to solo with application. You have to really understand what you're looking for. So dig deep into that, and I will see you next month.